everybody, grab your pumpkin drink, grab your goat, grab some popcorn, because it is time for the Witches Movie Coven. Yep, every Wednesday, witches talking about witches in movies. I am Patti Negri. I am one of your hosts. Let me introduce you to our other host. Let's start with Heather Greene. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everyone. I am coming to you from Florida, from the beach, special to talk about our movie this week.
Perfect. Thank you. Richard-Lael.
Hello, that is correct. I'm Richard-Lael. Richard-Lael is one name, not two. If I were just Richard, I'd be a penis.
Thank you.
I am from New Orleans, where I reside. So.
Thank you. Our pretty hair board, Jason.
I'm Jason. I'm coming to you from beautiful Sunnyvale, California, in the middle of Silicon Valley.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Miss Courtney.
That's me, Courtney Buckley, coming to you from Halloween Decoration Mountain.
With dolls. So many dolls.
One doll. That's the doll.
Those are all dolls. Dolls. No. Anyway.
Doll Mountain.
So this is us. I am here in Hollywood. Most of us have our Black Phillip. And this week we are talking about Halloweentown. Because yes, we are officially into spooky season, or whatever we want to call it. We have some great stuff coming up. We have our 1-year anniversary where we are going to talk about our favorite spooky movies. So we want you guys to tell us what you kind of want, what you like. This is interactive, you know. So let us know what you think, what you like, and send us fabulous anniversary presents. No, we're going to give you presents because we're going to do a contest. We're just going to keep talking about that as we go. We'll do check-in afterwards. I like to mix it up a little, keep them guessing. But right now, the movie is Halloweentown. So we're going to flip it up. We're going to go to Richard-Lael first to tell us the synopsis of what this little movie is.
Okay, well, that would be me, to quote Courtney. That's me. So it is 1998, and it stars Debbie Reynolds. For those of you who don't know old Hollywood, she is Princess Leia's mother, okay? Just so you know, there's a connection with Disney and with, Princess Leia. Anyway, so the story goes about this woman who lives in the mortal world with her very normal, not witchy children in the least. And her mother comes to visit for one night and one night only. Mom only can visit on Halloween and no other night because she lives in a very segregated little place where they have decided that only monsters can live. And by monsters, I don't mean lawyers or politicians. I mean actual monsters like witches and skeletons, because skeletons are obviously monsters too. We all have a monster inside of us, and it's, a skeleton. And warlocks and trolls and ghosts and all kinds of manner of Hollywood spooks. And so the children are upset that grandmother has to go back, and they think that she's dressed up for Halloween as a witch. And she says, I'm always dressed like this because she's a witch. And then grandma gets on the bus, and the children sort of sneak way onto the bus. And the oldest one thinks for certain that she is the witch. The youngest one is sort of the sponge, and the boy is the only normal one. He swears he's the only mortal. He is not a witch. He's your wife. I'm glad you caught that one. Anyway, so they get to Halloweentown. They meet the mayor, who turns out to be the obvious villain, but also he was the former boyfriend of their mother. And so he is curious as to why they're there. He whistles for his friend, who drives a taxi cab, who's, of course, a monster of the skeleton kind. And they make some jokes about it's rude to stare. Oh yeah, well it's rude to drive without any eyes. I'm sorry, Courtney, if that was your quote. That made me laugh. Anyway, so they end up by going to grandmother's house, and they say, we're here and we want to be trained to be a witch. And of course, chaos ensues, and they find out that there's this evil that has infiltrated Halloweentown, and that people turn ugly and then disappear. And of course, the daughter says, "They move, mother. They just move." But as luck would have it, there is an evil that makes them ugly and disappear. And that evil is the mayor in disguise. Of course, it's the mayor, because he's exactly the person who was borrowed from Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Clearly the bad guy, clearly the monster makeup, clearly evil. And something about they have to light a pumpkin, and there's an imitation in the real world. And of course, the bad guy thinks he wins by zapping with magic, but the girl drops the magic wand into the pumpkin and somehow vanquishes evil. But then they decide they've had enough of the segregation, and grandmother gets to move into the mortal world, where she will inevitably grow old, where she's lived in the same house for 200 years in Halloweentown, but in the mortal world, she's going to grow old and die. And they're all happy about it because now grandma gets to come and stay with them in the real world. The end. Roll credits.
My favorite thing about a Richard-Lael synopsis is how absolutely unbiased it is. We can tell where he stands.
There's no commentary.
Gives nothing away. So it's a complete surprise when he gives us his wands up or wands down later.
Yeah, complete surprise. Well, thank you. So now we completely all understand the movie, since we did it in this reverse order. So let's move on to our expert on such things, Miss Heather Greene, who did write the book on witches in movies. Heather.
Yeah, so where does this fit in? I always like to tell everybody where this, there's my book. Thank you, Courtney. I don't have a copy with me here. And I like to fit this into witchcraft movies, into movie history a little bit, so we know what we're dealing with. First of all, this is 1998. It comes out at the end of the witchcraft craze. Very popular at this time was Charmed, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You had a string of movies after The Craft that were popular, that were witchcraft related, geared at teenagers. And there's a lot of other pieces of this movie that fit that model. She says at one point, I look like a Wiccan. Using the word Wicca in these movies and TV shows becomes more popular, especially going into the 2000s. You see it a lot on TV. So that's where it fits into movie history. Now I will talk about another aspect of that in a little bit. If I talk too much, I may wait, but there's another piece of that that's very interesting. But the other piece is this is a Disney Channel movie. Okay. So it's very much, when you watch it, it looks like a Disney Channel movie. I'll reserve any commentary about that in a second. It is not a made for movies. It's not a blockbuster. It has that TV cable Disney feel. Disney at this point in time, now, the Disney Channel began in 1983, but it really wasn't until the 90s that Hollywood generally and the Disney Channel found its audience. This was a period of time in the late 90s, beginning with things like 90210. And again, you see it with The Craft. You see it in which films and TV shows. Hollywood realized the power of the teenage buying power. Okay. And so they began to gear a lot of TV and a lot of, and then again, movies into the 2000s at teenagers. And when I say teenagers, I'm talking about 10 to 21. So they're either about teenagers or for teenagers. And we see that with witch films. 2000 show are just, there's so many of the witch films are geared at teens during that period of time. And it's no different in this late 90s. Okay. So this is where this fits in. Okay. The other big thing about this movie is Harry Potter, the books were released in 97. I have the exact dates. I think the first book was 97. The next book was 98. And a lot of people think, and I did when I first started just studying, I'm figuring Halloweentown is Disney's answer to the popularity of Harry Potter. But I would argue not so much. Now, yes, Disney was in the bidding for the Harry Potter movies in 1988 and 1999, but the production, and there may be a connection, but the production of this movie would have happened prior to the popularity of the books, and the movies hadn't been released yet. So there may be a little bit going on. However, I would argue that Halloweentown is more Disney's answer to Buffy the Vampire Slayer and to Charmed, which were highly popular at this time. The WB was magnificently popular. There was lots of this type of stuff going on. Disney created a Halloweentown to answer that for a little bit younger audiences, perhaps, than you would get for Buffy, a little bit less scary than for, Charm, Buffy, and Angel eventually. This answered that. And it was hugely popular. There's 4 of them, I think, total that go into the 2000s. And then Disney eventually answered the Harry Potter with the Wizards of Waverly Place and Twitches, which come later after the movies were so successful. So I would say this is more of a fitting into what was going on at the WB at the time. So that's where we're at. This is 1998. Go back in time, and we see this sort of monster-esque Halloween fantasy something playing out for younger audiences on the Disney Channel. So let's go there, and then I'll talk about Witch Worlds a little bit later.
Okay, thank you. I just want to announce to somebody says TikTok is cutting out. I have spent a week trying to get this on TikTok. We're not going to talk technology here, but I don't do technology, and it's been very hard. So let us know.
Kicking and
screaming.
Also, TikTok is just like that with their live videos, and that has nothing to do with anybody here. So
I had to do gamery things. You're a gamer. I don't done a game in my entire life past Monopoly and checkers. And I had to do all these like keys and OBOs and all this stuff that I don't know what. I kept going, that is good. I don't know what it is. So I apologize to TikTok. We'll keep working on it. So the girl or person who said it's cutting out. Okay, back to the movie. All right, who wants to go first? Okay, Courtney.
Me. So a unique perspective for me on this movie. I was 12 when it came out, so I feel like I was the target audience for it. Loved it. I was living my Disney Channel original movie era at that point. I still enjoy going back and watching all of those movies now that they're on Disney Plus and available for streaming. At 12, this was amazing. I wanted to live in Halloweentown. I wanted this to be my life. I was obsessed. Rewatching it now as an adult, and I've rewatched it since. My son loves watching this movie every year. It's one of the ones that I watch every year. But I think something hit me differently this year, having a 13-year-old. And Marnie is just not it. Like, her attitude is just ridiculous. And as the parent of a 13-year-old, I was cringing the whole time watching it this time that I rewatched it. So it holds a special place in my heart because I grew up with it and I love it very much. But got to tone down the attitude, Marnie. Chill out. Well, that's my beginning thoughts on it.
Thank you. I will actually go next because I thought, I don't have kids. I haven't been a kid in a long time, but I thought, yes, the attitude was a mother shouldn't put up with that, but she was like 13 going on 17. To me, that weird attitude and confidence. I remember being like that a little bit more at 16 or 17, not quite at 13. Maybe they're growing up faster now, but this was way back then. So it wasn't. So that really, really bothered me. Plus, I've never been a Disney Channel person. Again, not kids. It just wasn't my thing. So the bad acting killed me at first. Killed me. They've eaten more scenery than I've ever seen in my entire life. The bad guy, he must have had a blast doing it, but it's like, oh my God, there are acting teachers rolling over in their graves over what they are doing. So, I liked it. And I kept going. Again, not an expert on such thing. Oh, that's Harry Potter, the little bus that's going to Halloweentown. Just to my little uneducated eye. And even when the bad guy was talking, it's like, oh, that's my Wizard of Oz moment. I love Debbie Reynolds. To me, she is the princess. I hated how they kept calling her Granny all the time. It's like, she's Debbie Reynolds. You can't just keep calling her Granny all the time. She's Debbie Reynolds. Stop that. She didn't even look that old. People are looking younger all the time, but you take away that hair, it's like, I don't know. But that's my thing. It's just the aging. It seems like it was written for a 16-year-old not a 13-year-old dialogue wise. But I don't know, Courtney, you have a 13-year-old, so but doesn't that just seem too sharp, too mature, too quick for a 13? So
he would be grounded day in and day out if he talked like that to anybody. So yeah.
But other than that, I absolutely loved it. I loved it. Again, it's that what I call Hallmark, because I wasn't a Disney person, that happy. I wanted to live there. I wanted to be that. All the kids, how magical it was. This is one of my favorite movies of our recent movies. Totally just enjoyed every second of watching it. Bad acting and all.
Well, I think when you said Hallmark, you really brought up something that I felt like was in this movie, Patti, is that there is a desire to watch specials about the holidays, whether it's Christmas or Halloween. Those are the two that are the most magical, right? Those are the nights where things can happen that are not expected to happen, where miraculous things can happen. So people want to watch specials about that. And there was a movement away from animated specials for a while. So everything was live action. And this fits really well into that. And it feels like a Hallmark movie for 10-year-olds. That's what it is. It's like a love letter to Halloween for 10-year-olds, and that they can fall in love with it in 1998 and then watch it every year. Like some of us fell in love with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, or It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, or whatever, because it plays to sort of the tendencies of this generation who are watching it for the first time. And I was completely sucked in the moment I saw the trick-or-treaters running across the lawn, because I love holiday things and I like things that capture the magic of a holiday. And I felt like this movie captures the magic of Halloween really, really well, even though it's super, super cheesy. And I will be criticizing its cheesiness as we go forward.
All right. Well, do you want to go forward on that while you're there, Jason?
Yeah, oh man, I feel like I'm talking too much. You know, if you look at this movie closely, there's a lot of really funny things. First of all, it's Halloweentown, which should be August perpetually. And if you look at the ground, like where the actors are, there's leaves blowing, there's corn. If you look up into the trees, they're all green and full of leaves, because this movie was shot in Portland, Oregon during the summer, and there was no CGI yet to get rid of that. So Halloweentown itself is a very, very strange place. And I also felt like all of the costumes were bought at the local Walmart or something, right? I mean, there's a cheapness to this film, but it's a cheapness that's really endearing, you know, and it's hard to be too mad at it. You know, reading about
that picture right there, before that picture goes away, that dude there on the left, like his costume was a Walmart mask, and then he had regular person arms.
Yeah.
And like that was like all of them. Like look at the alien, green head, regular person hand. It's right there.
And the green tree in the background. It's not fall. It's not fall.
And the cheap plastic pumpkins.
Yeah. It's like Halloweentown is like officially sponsored by Walmart or something.
Spirit Halloween.
Yeah. I don't think Spirit existed back then, did it?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Halloween, just getting back to Jason's comment about Halloween specials. So, you know, Christmas obviously gets the most specials that we all know, because it's Christmas. It overtakes everything in its wake. But Halloween, there are a number of specials that have come out over the years. And one of my favorites, and it's a short one, and it's from the 70s, is the Halloween that almost wasn't. And it's like from 78 or 77. And it's the funniest thing, because you don't expect the story. It's about the monsters are trying to, they're in their home getting ready for Halloween, and they're waiting for the witch to fly across the room, which signals the start of Halloween, but she's not doing it. And she refuses. And why does she refuse? Because she's sick of being made fun of as the ugly girl, as the only girl, as being told what to do by all the men monsters. And so she refuses until she gets her rights, equal rights for women, equal rights for the witch in this case. And she looks very much like the Wicked Witch of the West, without the green skin. So that's a really funny kind of 1970 feminist Halloween special that came out. There's a few others. There's the Mickey Mouse one does one. Disney does one in the 80s. There's the Great Bear Scare and a few others that come out. Of course, they're fun to watch. Some of the TV shows have some of the popular television shows. I talk about them periodically in the book when they appear, but they're super fun. This one does, I agree, feel like more of a Halloween special than a movie, than a true movie. For me, I would treat it as that if I was to watch it again. But I also am going to add in, I agree with Courtney and Patti that the 13-year-old speaking like that, and I have 3 children of my own, there is no way. I'm just going to say that. And if any of my children are watching this, they would agree with me that there is no way that child, she was speaking on a level that is more mature than a 13-year-old. And also the mom just needed to shut her down. Even if the mom was wrong in not sharing that she was a witch, I do agree with the child. I do feel with her in that respect. But the one thing I just want to point out on that is that the 90s saw a turn in family stories. You could see this with like Simpsons, for example. But across the board, you see this where animated as well as live action films are started to show started to value the teenager or the child above the parent. The teenager always succeeded. The parent was always the fool. You see this in Simpsons. You see this in what's the married show?
Married with Children.
Married with Children. And think about the TV shows of the 80s. Okay, you had Cosby, you had Family Ties. The parents always were who you turn to. They were the smart ones. The kids were just trying and working out being kids. When you get to the 90s, you see a change. You see a change where the kids are the ones who are smarter than the parents. And so this is reflecting that a little bit, showing the kid knows what's going on, turning to a grandparent or someone else, and the mom is the mistake. You see that a lot. And that propels some of the popularity of teenage films and teenage shows and stuff into the 2000s. So that's just a little side non-witchy thing that was going on.
I'm actually thinking of. I'll get to this movie, but my favorite Halloween series special was Will Vinton's claymation Halloween, and then of course he does a Christmas special too. It's brilliant. It's claymation, it's fabulous. It's funny and there's jokes, and even as an adult I still love it. As for this film, I'm going to tell you that my niece, who is the same age as I am, was mad about this film. I remember this from 1998. And she'd say, "Oh, Halloweentown." And I guess I was kind of a weird, cynical kid because I kind of watched it. And I went, okay, well, I mean, I don't hate it. And I mean, to quote Heather, I didn't mind it. It is very sort of Hallmarky. It is sort of it's a little childish, but it's, and of course you're right. I don't know. I don't have teenagers. I don't have children, but Marnie, if she would have, I agree. I don't know how teenagers talk, so I don't know, because I'm one of the cool kids, I don't know how they talk, but it was okay. I mean, it was, of course, Debbie Reynolds. How could you not love Debbie Reynolds? She was the only reason the film was actually watchable.
What? I mean, the son? I mean, the brother? I mean, what great acting. He loves nature. He doesn't think he has any powers. He's the normal one. He's really annoying. He's terrific.
Can I just make a connection with him? And I think Courtney's probably going to get this maybe more than the rest of you guys, but he was totally Arnold from the school book, from the school bus, the magic school bus.
Yeah. Oh, yes!
He was. And they were popular at the time too. I wonder
Yeah.
if they based his character off of Arnold, because when they got on that school bus and he started doing all that stuff, I'm like, with Debbie Reynolds in the front, I'm like, she is totally Miss Frizzle, and he is Arnold at this moment. And I kept that I think would have hit a lot of the kids at the time. They would have seen the connection subconsciously, if not consciously, because Magic School Bus was huge that period of time.
I love Magic School
Yeah, I was
Bus.
just thinking the same thing, Heather. Absolutely.
I
The
know.
exact
You
same
love the
thing.
Magic School Bus,
I know
Jason.
all those characters and Miss Frizzle, and I have a poster of her in my office.
Yeah. Well, and that brings us to is, she's a magic nanny as much as a witch, and sends us off into the world of, well, our magic nanny's witches, and is Mary Poppins a witch? Is Nanny McPhee a witch? Is we can go into that world another time, but she definitely is Miss Frizzle a witch. I would argue Miss Frizzle is probably a witch, but that's for another show, perhaps.
She's not a witch. She's your wife.
I agree, Robert. Debbie Reynolds is a perfect good witch and a dancer. Yeah, yes.
I would like to address Allison in the comments, who said, can we all just agree that it was messed up that they didn't ask the original Marnie actor to be in the fourth? Travesty. Absolute travesty. Because lest we forget that this is not just one movie, this is a series of movies, which I enjoy thoroughly, each and every one of them, except the fourth, which doesn't exist to me because Marnie is not in it. And I don't like it. But I do also want to offer a perspective as someone who was kind of a teen or coming into teens at this time and was heavily into these Disney Channel original movies. Like these, whether they were about witches or not, were their own like genre of movies with terrible acting and horrible costumes and awful plots. They were very like Hallmark for kids, and I ate up every one of them. Like they were just, I still like to this day. There's the one about motocross where the girl, their twin brother and sister, and the brother's allowed to do like the dirty, like they get all dirty with the motorcycles and everything else, and the sister is like has to be the girly girl, and then the brother gets hurt, so she chops off her hair and then goes and pretends to be the brother. Like it's so Hallmark, it's ridiculous, but this is what they did. And so that's why I think Halloweentown worked in that sense at that time, because that was what they were putting out.
Courtney, I have a question for you. When you watched this, because you were, I think, the perfect age to watch this when it came out, did people at school talk about it? Did all your friends talk about it? Was it like an event when these movies would come out?
Yeah, we would. So I used to babysit all the kids in the neighborhood. And like on weekends, we'd always get excited to see which Disney Channel. Like we would base our whole like activity schedule around what Disney Channel original movie was going to be playing. But that was at the days of like with the scrolling, like TV guide or whatever it was. So we couldn't know until like a certain time, and then we'd see what Disney Channel movie was playing. And then if it was a good one, we'd make popcorn and play movie theater and set up and watch one of these Disney Channel original movies.
And this really was the heyday for the Disney Channel. They hit the market perfectly.
Yep.
And you were exactly the right age for this type of, for everything they were doing. And they knew what they were doing. And they didn't have to make these. They didn't have to make these top of the line movies. They need to make them appeal to 12-year-olds. And they did it, and that made them popular, and that was it. That's all she wrote. We all had that. If you look back to your time when you were 10 or 12, there are some real, I love The Cat from Outer Space, and I'm dating myself. And let me tell you, The Cat from Outer Space is a terrible movie, but I love the Cat from Outer Space. So, I'm just saying, we all had our Disney Channel era.
Yeah.
It's just it wasn't on the Disney Channel if you're of a certain age.
No, there wasn't a
Disney
Disney Channel back then. Yeah.
But they really did know what they were doing. Like it was like kitty crack, honestly, for me at least, because I could not wait. And I would, it was, you couldn't, they weren't out on video. You couldn't, and I'm dating myself now with the VHS tapes. They weren't out on VHS tapes. They they didn't like, they would only rerun them every once in a while. So it was like when it came on, it was a treat. But then they would be like the specials. So there was like The Luck of the Irish about the leprechaun would come on in March, and that was so good. And like Halloweentown would be on at Halloween time. And so it was like one of those things where you had to kind of catch it on the day that it was on and be excited about it.
I'm a little bit I'm a little bit jealous though of all of you, because 1998, how old was I? I was right at 18. Is that right? I don't know. I can't remember. I can't do math. I was probably 50. I don't know. But anyway, I grew up. I grew up not being able to celebrate Halloween. In fact, we didn't even have a television until I was about, goodness, I was about 15 or 16 when we got a television, and it was the news. It was Fox. It was, but only the Fox News part. It was not like Fox, like the Simpsons Fox. It was like Fox News. It was Westerns. It was the Trinity Broadcasting. It was the Church Channel. That was it. So I didn't get excited about Halloween movies, though. Like I mentioned before, Will Vinton's Halloween, I did sneak and watch it because I always had a penchant for monsters, which is why I will give this movie a pass, because even though they're Walmart monsters, I have a penchant for them, and I love their Halloween. Yeah, I don't know whose that is. It's not mine. Maybe it's a ghost.
It's a ghost. I've been muted because my dog was barking, but I did it. It's like Morse code drums.
No, not me.
I didn't hear anything
over here.
I haven't touched anything.
Maybe it's like Debbie Reynolds or something.
Oh
no, would be an honor.
Debbie Reynolds.
Which would be an honor. You know, you had, like, Courtney brought up how exciting it was when you were a kid to find all these Halloween specials and Christmas specials. Even in the late 90s, if you were watching ABC Family or Freeform or whatever, they would have like the 31 Days of Halloween.
Yeah, they still do.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those kind of movies that ended up on there. And I love all that stuff just because I think holidays are so much fun and exciting. And anything that gets people excited about a holiday, I think, is really terrific.
And Halloween is actually really quite amazing. You know, as an adult, I really love it because that's when, like Halloweentown, to get back to the movie, one of the things that is a plot that I love about it is that she says that the mortals imitate life in Halloweentown. And it's when I live Halloween all year round, it's the one time of year when I'm kind of normal, kind of, because I'm not, but only kind of. It's the one time of year when everybody wants what I do, and I love it.
Can you guys hear me? Is my mic okay now? Okay. So I just want to hop in real quick with a personal story, if I can, that relates a little bit to you, Richard-Lael, because Halloween, I think, became really special to me because of the magic of it when I was a kid, because I without fail, I would get the best Halloween costumes in my eyes, the best Halloween costumes every year. And every year without fail, I would get sick and I couldn't go out trick-or-treating. So I would be devastated. So I lived in a place where it was not really very safe for a kid my age to be opening the door. So I wouldn't be allowed to help give out the candy to the trick-or-treaters. But once a night, the doorbell would ring and my family would tell me that it was okay for me to go answer the door. And I would open the door and there was a basket on the porch and it was filled with treats and toys. And it would say, "From the Great Pumpkin." So the Great Pumpkin would come to my house because I was sick and I couldn't go out. So the Great Pumpkin to me was magical, like more magical than Santa, more magical than anything else. And I think that's what spawned my love for Halloween. So literally same thing, like I missed out. And I think that's why I love it so much. And so it's now Halloween. Now I'm a grown-up with grown-up money. And it's Halloween all year long in my house. But it's the same. I think that sparks something in me with a movie like this, especially like, you know, later on in my childhood. it brings back those feelings, and it was nostalgic for me before it was like, even when it was new, because it re-sparked those feelings for me. So now watching it, even though the attitude of the teenager horrifies me, it's still like, it still brings up those feelings, because this is how I started every year from when I was 12.
But your parents like killed the actual myth of the Great Pumpkin. You can't get gifts from the Great Pumpkin unless you're at a pumpkin patch. That's the rule. You can't rewrite the rules, just because Courtney is sick. There are rules for holidays.
Don't ruin it for her now.
I was sick and I couldn't go to the pumpkin patch.
Well,
but I go to the pumpkin patch now. I go now.
Somebody else should have brought your gifts those nights or something, right? I mean, you shouldn't tarnish the reputation and legacy of the Great Pumpkin, because the Great Pumpkin exists just to disappoint children.
Bah humbug Halloween Scrooge, okay? Leave it alone. It is my magical memory. Leave it alone.
You gotta respect the lore.
We also watch The Great Pumpkin every year, because you can't have this holiday season starting in October all through December without a little Charlie Brown, and that was that we were huge into watching the same things every year. I had, even when my kids got to the point where they were watching, I'm making them watch the shows over and over, and I had DVR'd when you DVR'd. Now we don't even do that. Every show would come on and I'd be mad DVRing everything so they can watch them all. And Halloween, there wasn't as many, but we had, of course, The Great Pumpkin. But my tradition growing up was The Wizard of Oz. We watched The Wizard of Oz around Halloween every single year, along with The Great Pumpkin, because again, this holiday season from now until December 31st is not the same without a little Charlie Brown sprinkled in my world anyway. So Halloweentown was not part of that, because it came out later. And I was not a Disney Channel person, other than the fact that, and though my master's degree was on Disney, it was done to Disney Animation. So Disney Channel was not something that I personally paid attention to. But since, it's, I've studied it and looked at what it's done. So yeah, this movie is a great addition to holiday specials, is where I put this movie. And, people love it. Super, super. And Debbie Reynolds, yes, love Debbie Reynolds, even though she overacted in this one, in my opinion.
Everybody did. I think that was a prerequisite.
Matched.
But I think that maybe in defense of Debbie Reynolds, maybe she had to overact because everyone else was
eating furniture. Yes, yeah. She had to.
She had to.
Isn't that the responsibility of the director to say, rein it in, bring it back a little bit, So you can't blame Debbie Reynolds for that. I think she's delightful. I didn't notice that she was overacting at all. I just found her to be like Witch Mary Poppins, and I was in love with her the moment she appeared on screen, and thought, she is great. I unbelievably want to watch the rest of these movies now. Maybe not the fourth, because I've been told to ignore the fourth one. But I'm a giant 8-year-old child. I'm down.
They're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
I think you'll like them.
I want to know. We have not everybody's talked about this movie yet, but do we know that they did not ask that actor back for the fourth one, or she just didn't want to do it? Do we know that we didn't ask her back?
I read about it because I always try to do the background on these movies, and apparently a deal could not be struck. So she's had a pretty good career away from these movies. She wanted to come back. Maybe they thought that she was asking for too much money, and they didn't really work particularly hard to bring her back. But to change main characters on the fourth film is really indefensible. You just can't do it.
And you know what is even more indefensible is that really it's got magic in it. I really like we talked about in Bewitched. If you have magic, you can actually change the character and say, poof, now you look like somebody different. And it's such a lost opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
She also was in other Disney Channel original movies too. So she was an actress that they used, but why? I don't know. Makes me crazy. It doesn't exist. The fourth one doesn't exist. That's all.
We'll put that in. We have a list of movies that don't exist. We'll put it in with that one.
Yeah, that's my addition to the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Halloween
I'm gonna keep track of that.
Halloweentown 4 sits in a bin with the alleged Nicolas Cage Wicker Man, the made-for-TV Rosemary's Baby
Oh,
reboot.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
these movies don't exist.
They don't exist.
Yeah, it's like some sort of Kazam sort of conundrum.
All right, let's go back to this movie that does exist. Who wants to go? Who hasn't talked yet? Heather.
Oh, well, I've talked, but I can just give you my quick opinion. I think I already did, generally speaking. I value it as a kids movie from that era. It's fine. I'm gonna put it in there with I don't mind it.
Not while I was drinking my Coke.
I didn't mind it. I'm not adding it to my Halloween. You know, it just I think if I had been 12 if I had been your age, Courtney, when it came out, I would have been like you. I would have been obsessed with it, and I would have loved it probably. And still, I don't have that connection to it. For me, it's totally an intellectual, non-experimental, intellectual. You know, for my film historian stuff, that's pretty much all it is for me. It's neither here nor there. So but I do love Debbie Reynolds. So I just, you know, being an old Hollywood fan, I can't turn it down when Debbie Reynolds plays a Mary Poppins character, even if she overacted. And I just was like rolling my eyes at points.
And the costume was from Walmart.
And the costume was from Walmart. I did like the fact that she said I look like a Wiccan, and I did like, you know, there were some clever little things in there, and it was kind of fun, and yeah, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it. There you go. That's my review.
I have to say, I was actually a little annoyed by the "I look like a Wiccan" line. I get it that they were trying to be inclusive, but for me, I went, there are other kind of witches, and clearly Wiccans don't dress like that. Like Halloween Walmart.
I'm dressed like that right now.
Let's clarify. Let me clarify that, Richard-Lael, because that is a really interesting point I talk about in my book. And in the late 1990s, Hollywood and TV Hollywood, all of those, they started to distinguish between witches and Wiccans. They really didn't know the difference of any of it, but it was a way to separate out good witches from bad witches. So bad witches were witches, and good witches became Wiccan. And that's if you watch a lot of the TV shows from the early 90s, I talk about this in my book. It's Jag and Bones and all those. You start to see even in the 90s with X-Files, you start to see that distinction being made. So anybody who is a good witch was called a Wiccan. And anybody who is a bad witch was witchcraft. It was witches, you know, or a Satanist. But they even got away from Satanists because that was getting away from the Satanic era. So it became witches and Wiccans, and that was a sort of a way to sort of change. They were changing the language and the rhetoric around witchcraft in these things, which is very, very cool and very, very good. But they were not making a distinction on the different types of witches and witchcraft at this point in time.
And it should be noted too that the warlock is the villain.
Yeah.
The witches, you know, warlocks don't exist. Witchcraft is witchcraft.
Yeah.
But the warlock is the villain.
Yeah, it's great how it's very interesting how they change this language over time and which words are used and which ones are abandoned and stuff. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, do we have quotes from this one, Courtney? I'd be curious.
So I didn't actually pull any funny quotes because it felt wrong to make fun of it that hard, but because it's just easy pickings. But there was one that like really just struck a chord in my heart and brought a little glimmer of a tear to my eye because I think it's beautiful. So it's when they're on the broom and Marnie and Debbie Reynolds are talking about magic. How do you make the broom work? And it's magic. And she says, magic is really very simple. All you've got to do is want something and then let yourself have it. And isn't that just like, that is what it is. And it's beautiful. And like giving ourselves permission to open our hearts to the world. And that's the root of it. And I got emotional about it. And probably it's because my kid's on a school trip and I am just emotional about everything. But it hit me different tonight when I watched it. So that's my quote for tonight.
Nice.
There was one quote that I liked, but I didn't write it down, so I won't have it right. But it was something about the little girl liking the broom and how great the broom, and she's saying how brooms have changed since when she was young, and something about that's why witches don't drive minivans or something was a kind of a cute line.
Yeah.
And my favorite cute line, even though Marnie I hated her attitude, when she sort of the troll character has sort of turned back into his troll form, and the magic from the evil wizard has faded, and he's now ugly, and he sort of is feeling down and says, well, now I'll never get a date with you. And she says something along the lines of, no, it all changed when you decided to help. So it didn't matter it didn't matter what you look like.
It's so beautiful.
That was quite sweet. Even though, face it, if he would have looked like the troll in the beginning, he would have always been the bad guy. That's just the way that it is.
True. That is true.
Early in the film, Marnie is talking to her brother about Halloween, who doesn't like Halloween. And I wrote this down because I really liked this quote. I don't want to steal Courtney's thunder, but she goes, Halloween is cool, nature boy. I mean, it's exciting, strange, and ancient. And I loved that quote because it just, to me, really summed up Halloween. And, because it is exciting, because it is this break from our normal existence that people embrace. And it's strange because you can be anything that you want on Halloween. And it's also ancient because it has these very ancient roots. And I just love the way she summed it up. And at that moment, if the rest of the movie had been even crappier than it was, I still would have liked this movie because I liked that line so very, very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have a trailer, Jason?
Oh, yeah. I got one. It was hard because I liked this movie, though.
Okay. All right. Are we ready for trailer? Any other things that we want? We're getting comments from people along the way. I put maggots on pizza. And
that's for me because that's on my Twitch channel, and I once put maggots on pizza.
Oh,
as
Did
a
you
bear.
eat
That
it?
was gross. They were not maggots; they were mealworms, so they were fully edible, and it wasn't that weird. But yes, I did eat it.
That's weird.
They were not alive; they were dried mealworms that you feed to lizards.
no one's topping that.
I would not order it on a regular basis, but.
All right. Before we vote, I guess it's time to get the movie trailer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Here's Jason's whatever. What are we calling these? Mankey's Movie Minute or something? All right. Here we go. Take a trip to a magical world where all of the scenery looks like fall, but the trees are full of green leaves. It's the magic of Halloweentown. Marvel at a realm where all the creatures look like the costumes for sale at Spencer's Gifts, and all of the Halloween decorations were purchased at a local Target. Gasp in awe at special effects that were created on your weird uncle's old Commodore 64 computer. You know, the kind of computer that used your TV as a screen. Meet Marnie, a 13-year-old who dreams of trick-or-treating and becoming a witch, and talks to her mother in a way that would have gotten me slapped and grounded. Really? And then there's her brother Dylan, the most annoying little brother in the history of cinema, or at least movies made specifically for the Disney Channel. And Marnie's baby sister Sophie, a precocious 8-year-old who eats a sundae pulled out from inside a man's pants. That really happened. Somehow, Debbie Reynolds stars as Splendora Aggie Cromwell, the current matriarch of a long line of witches named after sweeteners, and perhaps descended from English Puritan Oliver Cromwell. But with all of its problems, somehow Halloweentown is still a silly good time, even though most cable access shows of its era have better production values.
Oh my goodness!
Oh,
Can we get that on a t-shirt? I think I just almost had a stroke. That was so...
That's a little long.
The Sunday pulled out of a man's pants.
That's in the movie. That's in the movie. It starts with the lollipop out of the ear, and she says no. But when he pulls ice cream out of her pants, she's like, "Sure, yummy. Let's eat this."
Not the pants cream. Oh my god! I want that whole thing on a t-shirt.
Thank you. Brilliant, Jason.
Wow.
Thank you. I guess it is time for us to vote. Wands up, wands down. Now, all you guys, we are appreciating all your comments. Robert, Alicia, Allison, Matthew, everybody. Okay, one's up, one's down. That is the best wand ever, Heather. That is the best wand ever. All right.
Heather with her crabby ladle. Is that what we have?
I don't have my wand with me in Florida, everybody. So you're settling for a crabby ladle.
The crabby
boys coloring.
a flat crabby label. It's so funny how much I like this. I don't know why. It just was sweet. Maybe I just needed sweet and funny. So up for me, up for Courtney. 90% up for Jason, or is that up?
Yeah, it's a 90% up.
90% up for, and about halfway with ladle for Heather, and you're vacillating a little, Richard-Lael, between your
Debbie Reynolds. Love Debbie Reynolds. The rest of it was, I'm not. I don't know. I don't love Disney anyway.
All right. Well, we're getting lots of ones up in the chat room. We've got one. Sean is down, but up. One's way up, all four, even the non-existent ones up, easily one's up from Matthew. So we win. One's up. We win.
Eat some pants Sundays, suckers.
But
yes.
How does it rate with serving spoons? That's the real question.
There you go. Now if you're going to say, I'll just have a teaspoon of ice cream, that's a big ass teaspoon.
Could you eat a pants
It's
Sunday?
got a crab on it. Look at that. Isn't that
really
crabs
funny?
came from.
It's got a matching fork. It's right over there.
I've got a fork and Heather's got a spoon.
A meal is coming. Meal is on its way. All right. Well, I want to check in and see what we're doing, but we do want to talk about next week. We are doing Hocus Pocus, both the old one and the new one, because it is the 30th anniversary. Time flies. I don't understand that.
Oh, that hurts my feelings in a big way. I'm going to be real honest about it. 30th anniversary is horrifying.
It is. It's like, So anyway, so everybody watch Hocus Pocus, the old one, the new one, every which one. Also, you guys, again, our 1 year anniversary is coming up October 11th, just a couple weeks from now. We're going to go through our lists of our favorite spooky movies, our favorite witchy movies. And we're going to have prizes and contests. Do we know what to talk about the contest yet?
So I think if you do what the contest is, one every week until the November 1st, one of us will send you a box if you like our Instagram page, and there'll be a code for it during the show. And I've volunteered to do the first week because there's so much stuff from my house I want to get rid of and give to you, our loyal viewers and listeners out there. So yeah, I think that starts next week. I'm really excited about it.
So we're sending boxes of crap that we don't want to have.
I could donate a Nada doll.
I am only sending good things. They're not crap. They're only good things.
Sweet baby.
That's what someone who's sending crap would say.
No, I'm excited. I have some really great stuff picked out.
I have lots of great stuff. Yeah, we will.
This is pretty great.
Starting next week. Thank you. It's a doll.
Yep, that's a doll.
All right. Let's check in, everybody. What's you have coming up, where people can find you, follow you, love you, see you in person, not see you in person. Jason.
I'm going to be in Memphis the 12th through the 15th at the Gathering of Souls, but I think you can't buy tickets to that now because it's kind of small. And then I will be in Las Vegas, Nevada, for the When We Were Young festival, rocking out to Green Day and Blink-182 because I am a small rock and roll child. And then on November 11th, I will be at Pagan Pride Day in Las Vegas, Nevada again, because if you live in the Silicon Valley area, Las Vegas is basically a suburb of your backyard. We go there a lot. And there's 4 Jason Mankeys in the world. One of them's a Christian preacher. Don't follow him, follow me. And I show up first.
Thank you very much. Okay, Heather.
Hi, and I am in Florida right now, and this is my personal vacation that I take every year. It's my equinox vacation, and we've been enjoying this, but I will be back in Atlanta, home, working with my authors, working with helping to get many of their books. We have a lot of exciting books coming out, and of course, you can watch my feeds for that. Go to heathergreene.net for to find my various feeds, and I have to add a few because things are changing rapidly in the social media world, so I'll have to add threads. I am on threads as well. It's not up there, and you can see what books I'm working on. I do have the Bewitched home as Halloween comes around and the gift season is. If you want to buy witchy stuff for your home, you can go to thebewitchedhome.com. It's at the bottom of the screen there. Some really cool stuff we do with that, and I think that is it. I did have something else to say, but I totally. Oh wait, Jason's holding something up. I think he forgot something.
I'm wearing my new Bro Witch shoes tonight. So if you're a bro and you're a witch, you can get Bro Witch shoes. They're not quite as cool as Richard-Lael pillows, but we're literally in the running because it's a shoe. I'm very excited about these shoes.
Richard-Lael pillows, Bro Witch shoes, clothes, power panties, mysterycontrol.com. Mysterycontrol.com. My power panties change your underwear, change your life, and I promise they work. Spellcaster line. We have a Scared and Alone line. Look at Richard-Lael's beautiful art on a shirt. Reynolds on a
jump scare. That was a jump scare.
Reynolds on his shirt. So mysterycontrol.com, and just for you guys only, code Patti, P-A-T-T-I, you could have 25% off of anything you buy, which means we're practically giving it to you. We're practically paying you to take our stuff.
Listen, you've heard of girl math. Now it's witch math. Witch math. It is. We are paying you to come order on mysterycontrol.com.
Yes. So our next big Coven meeting, when we gather together, which we're working seriously, are we going to have a doll convention? Are we going to have a movie convention? Where are we going to meet? Here, there. We're all over the country. We'll all have our matching Witches Movie Coven cloaks, I am sure. So thank you for that. Courtney.
That's me. So it is the first weekend of October, so you will find me on the streets of Salem from now until the end of time. I will do nothing but live, breathe Salem. So if you are coming to visit Salem, let me know. Send me a message. I will make sure to let you know where to find me, and then we can meet up. Other than that, I see no future beyond that until November 1st. So that's where I'll be. And also, I wanted to, while Heather was talking, I have this.
Oh, that's from Bewitched Home, isn't it? The little phone holder.
I love it.
It's mine here too. I carry it on vacation with me everywhere I go. There's another one.
They are the best.
I did want to shout out real quick before Richard-Lael, you go. There's someone just mentioned, Kelvin mentioned The Trouble with Miss Switch as another Halloween special, and yes, I was a big fan when that came out back in the day. So anyway, go ahead.
All right, good. All right, Richard-Lael.
Well, you can find me everywhere. thegentlemanpsychic.com. Also, I'll be in Ohio the 27th, 28th. I think 27th and 28th, 29th. Also, for those of you who are interested, you can find me under Richard-Lael, Lillard, the Gentleman Psychic, all of that. And apparently I have some copies who want you to join the Illuminati, not something that I will do. I will not ask you to join the Illuminati, but if you want to send some paper monies, you could send it to me and not the fakes.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys just be smart out there, because all of us get imitated. He's not going to ask you to do. I have 20 fakes on TikTok. It's ridiculous. So thank you. I am Patti Negri. I'm actually leaving for Massachusetts myself first thing in the morning. I'm going to be at Mass Paracon in Plymouth, which I hear there's a rock there. Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Don't waste your time.
Okay, I'm not going to
literally. It's like a rock. It's terrible. Don't go see it.
Okay, that's where I will be. And next week I'm going to be part of Orange County Paracon, which you can do from anywhere because it's going to be virtual now. And then I'm home for a while. Friday the 13th, if you're in LA, there's going to be a Vampire Ball Babylon in honor of my birthday, but not really in honor of my birthday, but it's on my birthday. And then I'm going to Mid-Michigan Paracon. So for anybody going back that direction. So with me, same thing, pattinegri.com. You can get to my legitimate Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Please like us all. It makes a difference for some unknown reason. Follow us all. Go to our websites. Tell us what you want. We'd like to talk to you guys. If you follow us, then you can get boxes of junk from us.
It won't be junk. Promise. It's good stuff.
I know.
It's good magical stuff.
Good magical stuff. It's a contest. We could do competition of what's what. So mysterycontrol.com, pattinegri.com. Go, Courtney.
Oh, I was just going to say, or Halloween decorations.
Dolls. Those are dolls.
Those are dolls. We have many of us have our dolls behind us. Heather left her dolls home. I subscribed to your page today. Oh yeah, I am doing a contest that I started. Tell your favorite ghost story. That's different than this, but it's all the same. It's Halloween. So I want your real ghost stories. Send them to me. Email me at patty@pattinegri.com. I'm going to give a prize for the best 4, and they're going up on my website. And I tell everyone my ghost stories all the time, my true ones, and I want to hear you guys. So that's what I'm doing. I've got some new stuff coming up. I've got a new show about haunted hotels dropping the 1st of October. I've got a new Ghost Adventures dropping October 25th when we're going to be doing our Halloween show. And all sorts of great things. I might even be doing a seance with Adele. We'll see. Zach Baggins is trying for that. That would be, because I always have people do chants and ma chants. Can you imagine Adele at your seance table and you make her do chants? Anyway, that's it. It is 7:00. It is 7:01. We are late, and we have one more thing to do. You guys come back next week. Tell your friends. And 1, 2, 3.